Hi and welcome to Blackpool Bag, or Blackpool Biker even. Hope everyone's well, doing okay. I'm just here showing you this at the moment because this is where the big wheel, the great wheel, the giant wheel, the jolly wheel, it had all those names along its time, but this is where it used to stand. I'm just at the Olympia side of the Winter Gardens. I have said before on previous videos that where it stood, or just about where it stood, and it was here. They built the Olympia after the dismantling of the giant wheel, the big wheel, whatever you like to call it. So yeah, we're just spot on where the big wheel used to be. That's Adelaide Street there. I've just done a bit of a video on Adelaide Street for you, and if I just pan around a little bit, there's one of the famous that a lot of people take the pictures of, you know, the Winter Gardens entrance there. Let's see if we can get that in for you a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of history on the big wheel in a second. It's only going to be a brief one, you know, and everything I say might not be 100%, but it's not far off. Anyone knows better, and I always do say, if you know better, please let me know, because that's what it's for, the community. Let's help each other. But this is just to my knowledge, obviously. Before we start, I've got to do a couple of shout outs that I didn't do before. I do apologise because I'm so unorganised. I'm going to go to Poundland in a minute and I'm going to buy a new book. So when I get the messages in, I'm not losing them. I do it every time. So the quick one for Jimmy, Tina and Cameron. They're in Maybole in Ayrshire. Thanks very much for liking, subscribing and everything to use. Hope everybody well there. Lots of people now in Scotland subscribing and watching the channel. Thanks very much. Even in Australia. I had a comment the other day. I can't find it now. There you go. But thanks very much for the comment. Yeah, so if you like a shout out, just let me know. So let me show you where we are. You probably know, you know where Winter Gardens are. But you've got the new there, the Hounds Hill. We'll watch this being built. Literally. Watch that being built. Put my paper away. Sorry, hands are cold. It's a bit nippy this morning. Go. So like I say, this is where the big wheel was, the jolly wheel, the gigantic wheel, whatever you'd like to call it. It was built for the Winter Gardens company, obviously. Let's just have a wander along here so I can show you a little bit more of the Winter Gardens and what have you whilst I'm telling you a little bit about it. So the reason they built it was a couple of years after the tower being 1894, was it the 13th of May, something 13th, 14th of May 94 if I remember correctly, and the big wheel just here, that was built, first time it turned 1896, a couple of years later, like we say, you know, in competition with the tower. Now, it was actually designed by Cecil Booth. If that name seems familiar, you're probably spot on. It was designed by Cecil Booth, who also invented what we know today as a vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner, you wouldn't believe it, would you? But yeah, this is a better shot of the Winter Gardens as you come up this way a little bit. One of the amazing things though about the big wheel, the axle itself was 40. Bear with me 1 minute, I've just got a little fence here I've got to negotiate. Yeah, so the axle itself was 40 tonnes, believe it or not. 30 tonnes, sorry. And approximately 40 foot, weighing 30 tonnes. That was just the axle. Just the axle itself. This is the side of the Winter Gardens most people know. I'd love to get into the Winter Gardens to show you around, but impossible at the moment. You know, with all the restrictions and lockdown and what have you. Now, let's walk back down this way. So the height of the big wheel, the gigantic wheel, jolly wheel, however you'd like to know it as, 220 foot it was. I'm going to put photos on. You should have just seen a few actually, so you can see how it did look in the day. You could still, the carriages, the gondolas, as they called them themselves, they were massive. They held 30 people each, and there was 30 carriages on the actual wheel. But I have seen others saying in the past that they actually held 40 people by 30, so you've either got a capacity of 900 or 1200, which, when you think about it, is more than the views we get on old Blackpool Biker. on a wheel just here. I'll go back a bit in a minute so I can get it in better for you in a second. Now, the demise of the wheel, various reasons really. Obviously the tower was the main draw, and always was. Like I say, built a couple of years before in 1894, the big wheel in 1896. There you go, Coronation Street just here. I'll go back a bit again. I'll put some photos on to show you exactly, from this angle you better see, you know, off the photos, to be fair. So yeah, the last trip, or the last time it went, was in 1928, and the funny thing being, that was the same year that the Winter Gardens was bought out by the Tower Company. Don't know, is there anything in that? I don't know really, 'cause, you know, would you have two prime attractions? Well, why not? You know, you might go in the Tower then here, or one day the Tower, one day on the big wheel, you know. It's one of them, innit? It's horses for courses, I expect. But would you knock the big wheel down on purpose? I don't really think so, do you? But back to the gondolas, the carriages, if that's what you want to call it. A couple of them do still survive. I think there's one in Wesham or somewhere like that, or Kirkham, somewhere like that, just outside of Blackpool. And they do still survive. One was at a filling station, if I remember rightly. Yeah, filling station. And there's one in a private residence as well, used as like a sunroom. So yeah, isn't it funny? This is exactly where it's been so busy in the day. But the size of the thing was, you've hopefully seen the photos now, but the size of the wheel, it was 1,000 tons all in all. And it started, like I say, the last time it turned was 1928. So it wasn't up for that long, was it? What was that, 34 years, is that? What I've read before though, it had 2 coats of paint on it when it was first built in 1896. And just the weight of the paint was 2.5 tons. So yeah, there's not much more really you could go into. It's just a fascinating thing. What was an iconic landmark in town is now, you know, this is it now, what we're looking at. I'm sorry I can't show you much, but there's only the one area I can really show you. Yeah. But it's one of those that, it's part and parcel of the history of Blackpool, isn't it? You know, I'd love to get inside, but there's just no chance. No chance at the minute. There are a lot of places I'd like to get inside, you know. But I hope you've liked the little vid. You know, it's just a brief history. I thank everyone for liking and subscribing. If you do want any shout outs, please let me know. I'm going to do the Winter Gardens ASAP as soon as we can get in there, because you need to get in there as well, and I can show you the architecture that I was saying about then, about you know, Dr. Cocker, William Cocker's property that he actually sold to his own company, basically, the Winter Gardens company, when they was doing that in 1878, the Winter Gardens, wasn't it? Yeah, so like I say, I hope you've liked this little vid. There's not much I can show you because we're stuck, aren't we? You know, it's a shame. I will do better when we can get out of this, all these restrictions. Hopefully that'll be any time, well, in the next few months, when we've got all the vaccines and everything. So that's the best I can really do for now. I hope it's been informative for you. You know, it's just one of them things you can't do a lot at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe. Most of all, have a cracking day.